Hey guys! So today I'm going to be doing my review on The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. So this book was given to me in, I believe, the October 2020 Unplugged adult book box, and I've actually never heard of T. Kingfisher before. I know that she has one other horror novel out. I believe it's called The Twisted Ones. That's very popular and has really good reviews. But this was my first introduction to her. So the book is just over 330 pages, making it a pretty quick read. It's also pretty spaced out. It kind of felt like the spacing of more of a young adult novel than a traditional horror novel. And it actually didn't feel at all like a traditional horror novel. It was extremely unique with some elements of body horror and cosmic horror, but wasn't the scariest thing I think I've ever read. It was more like a dark fantasy novel than something truly terrifying. Okay, so The Hollow Places was initially released on October 6th, 2020, and was the first book of my 2021 reading challenge that I was able to get through. So overall, I'm quite a fan of this book. It was a very fun and whimsical read. It was definitely very fast-paced and easy to get through as well. So the premise of this book is a woman named Kara, who usually goes by Carrot, has just found out that her husband is leaving her, and she moves back in with her uncle, who owns an oddities parlor known as the Wonder Museum in a tiny, tiny town in North Carolina. While she is there, she reconnects with an old friend of hers named Simon, who is an eclectic gay coffee barista at the Black Hen coffee shop next door. And while she is running the Wonder Museum for her uncle, who has gone away, she accidentally discovers, I guess, a portal to another world. So right off the bat, I really liked the overall premise of this story. It didn't ever really feel super cliche. It was definitely very original. I know it's a tribute to Algernon Blackwood's short story, The Willows, which I've never personally read, so maybe it's not as original as I think it is, but I will definitely be checking that out after reading this. So one of the things I really liked about T. Kingfisher's writing is that she's, again, very, very easy to read and also very fun and puts herself very much into the story. So you can tell just through her own descriptions of the Wonder Museum that she's a huge fan of cryptozoology. There are countless references to Mothman and Bigfoot throughout the entire novel, and you can tell that the Wonder Museum is definitely based off of places in real life that she has been to, which actually is confirmed at the back of the book. Though as I was reading it, I could just see places like Obscura, which used to be in New York City, or the Strange and Unusual Oddities Parlor pop up in my head as places very similar to this Wonder Museum. So apart from the Wonder Museum, T. Kingfisher is really good at placing the reader perfectly into the setting that she is describing. Apart from the Wonder Museum, you really got a feel for the Black Hen coffee shop, which is where a lot of the story also takes place. It really did feel like your local small town coffee shop. The idea of regulars and small town of a small town community basically running the shop really came through. And then of course, once Carrot and Simon go through the hole in the wall to the other dimension, you really got a feel of all of the bunkers and the actual landscape of this Willow Beach, Willow Island archipelago. I'm not really sure what it is, but you really did get a feel of what it looked like. So as I was saying, the main reason I really enjoyed this book is because Simon and Carrot were such unique characters. I really felt like Simon could have been my best friend. He was a very well fleshed out character. You really got to see his charm and his ingenious. He was definitely a great foil for Carrot, who was more on the kind of closed off side at the beginning, wasn't quite sure where she was going with her life, and then started to feel more comfortable because of her friendship with Simon. So I thought that they really balanced off one another and really pushed the plot forward and made something unbelievable as, you know, going through an interdimensional portal feel very realistic. I also really loved a lot of the monsters that were described in this book, especially the boatman. I thought he was absolutely terrifying. I'll put some spoiler cards up for tiny, like smaller spoilers, but I really thought his visual was really interesting. I liked the air of mystery that was surrounding him throughout the book, and then once they got the full reveal of what he looked like and the implications of who he could have been, I found that really quite, I don't want to say devastating, but very just jarring. I love that the idea that the willows were really taking over the bodies of these creatures, or bodies of these, I guess, refugees stuck in the land of the willows, or people who were unfortunate enough to end up in the land of the willows. The same goes with the school bus scene. I found that at first very, very confusing. I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but her descriptions of the kids almost being like under a layer of skin, I found very, very, very eerie, which of course would have been my first illusion that there was going to be body horror in this book when we got to, I believe his name was Sturdivant. His big reveal of his intestines floating in the water really, really unnerved me. I thought that was great, and it was just the right amount of body horror for me to want to keep reading the book. I'm someone who doesn't like a lot of grotesque body horror, kind of thrown all at you. A little bit here and there really adds to the eeriness and the disturbing chill factor of a novel, but when it's too much, I don't get behind that. So I really, really liked the small drops of body horror thrown in to really just solidify how bizarre and creepy and unpleasant being in the Willow Land was. So where the book starts to lose me, I would say, is in the final third of the book. This is where everything that had been building up should have, in my opinion, started to unravel and be fully explained, but was not. And this is also where more of that cosmic horror and uncertainty starts to come in. If you know anything about me, you know I absolutely hate cosmic horror. I hate that at the end you can just throw in some kind of extraterrestrial, interdimensional being and just wrap it up and call it a day. T. Kingfisher does not do this in this book. The cosmic horror elements are pretty much there from the moment that Simon and Carrot start to understand the land of the Willows. However, the fact that I never really got any kind of solidified explanation or clarification of what them are, which are not the willow creatures, they are other kind of cosmic beings that aren't really understood by the people in there, or in the Willow Land, and they aren't really understood by the reader, or of course Carrot and Simon, and they're never really explained. The only way you can ever really see them is through Simon's 10 twin sister's eye that is still in his head, which was a really fun, albeit slightly unbelievable addition to the story, but I didn't mind it. Almost like a stone with a hole through it, like a fairy stone or whatever those are called. So I did really like that aspect, but I wanted the ending of the novel to give me just a little bit more explanation, or even just clarification as to what the beings are, or how they were related to the willows, or how the willows were related to the archipelago, or how the bunkers were there. So I felt for me that was a little disappointing, not getting that explanation. And I felt that T. Kingfisher definitely had moments where she could have inserted more clarification, apart from just talking to Woody at the very, very end to find out about the corpse otter and him knowing, of course, about the land of the willows. But there's that entire section where Carrot is reading the Bible of the military group that has been sent in to basically explore the land of the willows, and I felt right there was a really, really good time to try and explain what those creatures were. It's that whole section served a great purpose of giving the reader inside information on what else was going on, and the fact that other governments and other dimensions knew about the willows and were trying to explore and discover it. And I do really wish that I knew what happened to the writer of the Bible. I was a little disappointed to find out that his fate was left up in the air. I like to think that he made it back home, but I really don't know. But I really do think that those chapters where they were really giving more explanation of how them worked, that we could have added a little bit more of who they were, or where they came from, or their connection with the willows, if there was one. The other big thing for me that I didn't like was the whole corpse otter thing towards the end. It was very clear to me from the very beginning of the door opening that the corpse otter was causing it. I thought Carrot was very blind to the fact that every time the corpse otter fell over, something happened with it. I thought that was really, really obvious, but hey, it's a horror novel. People are not always the brightest. One of the things I didn't really love about the ending was the whole taxidermy reanimation thing. I don't know if I necessarily believed that that would happen. As someone who has done taxidermy before, I can say that taxidermy that's that old would just fall apart probably if it was moving the way that these were moving. Well, I do like the idea that Prynne was able to basically help save Carrot. I also don't necessarily know if I bought the whole some of these characters were loved and that's why they were good, where some were able to be converted to evil, because I kind of felt like the albino raccoon and the giant otter were loved by Uncle Earl at the Wonder Museum, and Carrot wasn't a fan of the Fiji mermaid, so it didn't really make sense that the Fiji mermaid attacked the corpse otter. Anyway, that to me just felt really unbelievable, so I wasn't that big of a fan. And I really did kind of want some sort of like FU resolution with Carrot's husband, because he's kind of a sort of prominent minor character throughout the first 2/3 of the book, and then he just kind of disappears. But overall, this book to me was definitely a 4 out of 5 star read. I really enjoyed it. I really liked T. Kingfisher's writing. I thought it was really fun and really unique, and I loved all of her fun references to cryptozoology and other fantasy and horror novels throughout the whole thing, and it was just a lot of fun for me. So I will definitely be looking into getting a copy of the Twisted Ones and reading some other stuff that T. Kingfisher puts out in the future. But I do highly recommend The Hollow Places, especially if you're looking for something more in the realm of like cozy horror. I've spoken about that before, especially with authors like Darcy Coates, where there are those elements of absolute horror and terror in the novel, but at the root of it, it is just kind of cozy and cute and fun. So that is my review here for The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. I'm going to try and get a bunch of reviews up on latest releases from the end of 2020 and of course new releases out in 2021 and just go from there. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.